Welcome yogis to this restorative yoga class. A restorative asana is an adaptation of a traditional asana, but you're passively supported by props, so you don't have to use energy to receive energy. Tension and stress is released, the immune system is regulated, and the mind starts to quieten. So we're going to begin using our bolster and our blanket, lying back in a pose called Supta Baddha Konasana. So from here, have your bolster and your blanket at one end of your mat, and then sit at the base of the bolster with your buttocks on the floor. Draw the bolster in towards your lower back, and then lying back over the bolster and bringing the blanket in towards the shoulder tips so it supports the back of the neck. Then from here, you're going to lift your buttocks up, tuck your tailbone under to create a bit of space through the lower back, and then taking the soles of the feet together in Baddha Konasana. Then from here, press the elbows down into the mat and lift the chest up. So you're getting height through the chest. And then take the arms out. Again, making sure that blanket is still supporting the back of the neck, palms facing up. And then closing your eyes. Allow your body to start to settle over the bolster. Allow your back body to start to soften over the bolster. And then begin to connect in with your breath. Start to increase the depth, the volume, and the velocity of the inhalation and the exhalation. Breathing in and out through your nose. And try to bring some consistency and some rhythm into the breath. On the inhalation, feel the lungs expand. So you're getting full expansion of the lungs, the rib cage, the diaphragm. Take the inhalation right to the outer edges of the skin on the chest. Feel the inhalation come right up to the collarbones. And then on the exhalation, use that as an opportunity to allow all tension to release. Exhalation is freedom. Start the exhalation from the top chest and allow it to travel into the bottom chest, down into the belly, down into the hips, right down into the groins, the inner thighs. Let the shoulders be heavy. Facial muscles completely soft. Eyes quiet. When we tense through the face, whether we clench our teeth, grip our lips, frown, harden the eyes, it hardens the brain, and then the body starts to get stiff. So try to allow the facial muscles to be passive so the brain can be passive. And the physical body will start to let go. Just a few more moments here. Lengthening the inhale, lengthening the exhale. Turning your hands around so your palms are on the floor beside your hips. press into the hands, lead with your chest as you come up to sitting. And then stretch out the legs. And remove your bolster and your blanket off to the side. You'll now need your 2 blocks. Bring them to the front of the mat. We're going to come into forward virasana with the hands on the blocks. So knees wide, hips back towards the sitting bones. With your hands, have them towards the front end of the block, so the fingertips can wrap around the front of the block, and you've got the lower part of the forearm resting on the block. Then from here, take the head down, but not all the way down. So line the ears up with the upper arms. And then work on getting your shoulder blades deeper into your back so your armpits draw closer down towards the floor. Again, connecting in with your breath. Allow the weight of the hips to draw back towards the heels. Keep the arms long. And then slowly coming up. Now moving the blocks to the side, you'll need your bolster. Take the bolster in front of you. And then from here we're going to come into dog pose with the forehead rested on the bolster. So bring the hands forward into forward virasana again. Come forward onto your knees, tuck your toes under, push back into dog pose. And you want your forehead to rest comfortably on the bolster. So if the forehead doesn't reach the bolster, you have the option of creating some more height with another block, or you can just take your hands and your feet a little bit wider apart to get your head closer to the floor. You don't want to rest the forehead heavy on the bolster, it's just lightly touching the bolster. You're still active in your dog pose, so pressing into the hands, extending back into the heels, sitting bones lifted, front thighs firm. But just resting that forehead on the bolster has a cooling effect on the brain, which in turn quietens the mind. Connect back in with the breath. Lengthening the inhalation, lengthening the exhalation. With the bolster, now move it to the front of the mat and turn it onto its side. Come back into a dog pose. Now from here, you're going to step your right foot to the outer edge of your right hand into a wide lunge. Shuffle the left foot back and then take the left knee down onto the floor. Now from here, you're going to bring the bolster in to line up with your foot and bring your forearms down to rest on the bolster. If you need a bit more height, you can take the blocks for a bit more height with the forearms if you need to. Otherwise, just rest them on the bolster and allow this right hip to start to relax and release. So where you're feeling the tension and the tightness through this right hip, on the exhalations, use that as an opportunity for the tension to release and relax. Soften through your face. Close the eyes even if you need to. Often it's hard to relax when you're experiencing pain through the body. It's challenging to relax those tense and tight areas. But the key to finding freedom and release is to allow them to relax on the exhalation. Remember to keep step back into dog pose. Now bringing the left foot to the outer edge of the left hand for your wide lunge. Shuffle your right foot back. Take the right knee down. Bring the bolster in. Align up with the left foot. Take the forearms down. Use a block under the forearms, another 2 blocks if you need to, for a bit more support. Allow that left hip to relax now. Soften through that left side, connecting with your breath. Lengthening the inhalation, lengthening the exhalation. Finding freedom in those tense and tight areas as you start to relax. And then coming back up. Move the bolster, place the hands down, tuck the right toes under, step back, dog pose. Now bringing your right knee between your hands for pigeon. Stretch out your back leg. Bring the bolster in again. Rest the forearms down onto the bolster. And then rather than allowing the right hip to sink down towards the floor, you want to keep the hips nice and square. So there is a natural gap under that right hip. If you feel like you need support under that gap, you can grab a block and place the block there for support. Just letting the head come down. Noticing where you're feeling the resistance and the tightness connecting with the breath. Allow it to relax as you exhale. And coming back up. Remove the block if you have a block. Move the bolster forward. Place the hands down. Tuck the back toes under. Step back, dog pose. Now left knee forward. Stretch out the right leg. Bring the bolster in. Take the block to support the left hip now, if you need to. Forearms resting on the bolster. Let the head come down. Keeping the hips square. Allow that left side to start to settle. Keep that constant connection with your breath. Conscious breathing stops your mind. So as long as you're bringing awareness onto your breath, your mind will start to quieten. And coming back up. Remove the block. The bolster. Place the hands down, tuck the back toes under. Step back, dog pose. And then taking the knees down and coming up. We're going to move into a restorative back bend. So you'll need your bolster for this, and you might need some support under the head. So have your blanket ready, or even your blocks, just in case. So the bolster comes across the mat. Our legs are going to be in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. And then you're going to curl yourself over the bolster with the aim of getting the shoulders close down towards the floor. Now the shoulders might hang a little bit. If they're hanging quite far off the floor, you can get your blanket and support your shoulders with the blanket, like so. And then if you need extra support for the head, you can take your block and pop it under the head if the head is tilted too far back. Then from here, take the arms out wide, palms facing up. Bring the heels in a little bit closer to get a deeper opening through the hips. So like I said, if the head is not comfortable, if the head's tilted back quite far or is hanging, take your block and then pop it under the head. Now allow your back body to start to settle over the bolster. So the back muscles start to soften. Bring awareness back onto your breath. Increasing the volume, the depth, the length, the velocity of the inhale and the exhale. Let the shoulders be heavy. Facial muscles quiet. Allow the physical body to completely let go into the asana. You're fully supported by the prop. You don't need to use any energy. Just a few more breaths here. And now to come up, rather than sitting up from this position, draw the knees in and roll to your right side to come up. Moving the blankets and the blocks out of the way, you'll need your bolster again. Taking a forward virasana position through the legs, bring the bolster in towards the groins, keep the knees in line with the sides of the mat, and then folding your belly down over the bolster, have the forearms rested on the side of the bolster, and then rest your left cheek to start with. Let the sitting bones draw back towards the heels. The abdominal region and the chest resting on the bolster. Close the eyes. Now on the inhalations, as you feel the belly expand, also feel the back expand. Feel the back muscles open up. Bring the breath right to the outer edges of the skin on your back. And then on the exhalation, use that as an opportunity for the back muscles to release down and away from the spine. And then turning your head to face the other direction. And then slowly making your way back up to sitting. Now from here we're going to come into Viparita Karani using the bolster. So having the bolster off to the side, come to lying down on your backs, knees bent. Then from here, lift up your hips and slide the bolster underneath your buttocks, and then rest the buttocks down onto the bolster, the buttocks and the sacrum. Now taking the arms out wide, palms facing up, tuck your shoulders down away from your ears, and then one at a time taking the legs up to the vertical. Extend through into the legs. Keeping the legs activated so the back of the legs can open. So the front thighs are firm. Take your gaze down toward the chest rather than the toes. And then again, connecting in with those longer, deeper inhalations and exhalations. Keeping some rhythm and consistency into the breath. Bending the knees, placing the feet down. Lifting the hips up by pressing into the feet. Slide the bolster out of the way. Allow the back and the buttocks to rest down onto the floor. Stretch out your left leg, hug your right knee in. Swap. And then give both knees a hug. And then roll over and coming up. Okay, this next restorative asana is a fantastic one. You will need your 2 blocks, your belt and your bolster. So with the blocks, you'll place them at the end of your mat. And then with your belt, make a loop. Probably about that big there. And we're going to use the belt to make a loop to tie up our feet. And the reason we're tying up the feet is so the legs can be completely passive in this pose and we don't have to use any energy to be there. So now you'll take your bolster mid-mat and then sit on the bolster and place your feet through the loop. Then once you've got your feet through the loop, then you'll figure 8 the loop and then take the toes back through it. It doesn't have to be super tight. So it's just to keep the feet together rather than them separating when you relax. If you need to tighten it up, you can, but it doesn't need to be too tight at all. Then from here, you're going to take your feet just onto the floor in front of the bolster. Don't worry about the blocks just yet. It may take a couple of goes to get the distance right with this setup, but once you've got it right, it feels fantastic. You're going to bring your buttocks in towards the end of the bolster and then lie back. And you want to get your shoulders down onto the floor. So the bolster is through the upper back, the thoracic area, but the shoulders are completely relaxed. So getting the shoulders flat on the floor is really important. Once you've got the shoulders flat there, then you can lift up your feet, stretch out your legs, and it's either your heels or just below the calf muscles that are resting on the blocks. Then from here, the arms come out wide, palms facing up. Shoulders must be completely relaxed. If you feel like the bolster's up too high, you can just simply shuffle back a little bit further to get the bolster a little bit further down the back. Now the legs can relax completely because the feet are tied up. Close your eyes. We're going to work with a little pranayama meditation technique while we're relaxing in this asana. It's really important to remember that the breath is so powerful. It's the vehicle of consciousness. And so by its slow, measured observation, we can start to tug our awareness away from external disturbances and start to go more inward. So with this exercise, we're going to use visualization. The breath will be normal, no need to change the depth, the velocity, or the length of the breath. Just work with normal breathing, normal natural breathing, but start to visualize the breath moving through the body in a circular motion. So I'd like you to visualize the inhalation starting in the lower belly and then slowly moving into the top chest. When that inhalation reaches the top chest, visualize the breath flipping over the shoulder tips. And then for the exhalation, visualize the breath moving from the upper back down into the middle back, into the lower back. So the inhalation travels from the lower belly all the way into the top chest. The exhalation travels from the upper back down into the lower back. And then when you inhale again, it flips over into the belly again. So on the inhalation, visualize the breath moving up through the front of the body, the anterior body. On the exhalation, visualize the breath moving down through the back body, the posterior body. And continue with that circular motion. Inhale up through the front, exhale down through the back. Keep your awareness, your concentration on that breath moving through the body in a circular motion. finish your last cycle there. And now we're going to flip the direction of the breath. So now the inhalation will move up through the back body and come down through the front body. So the inhalation will start through the posterior body, starting in the lower back, slowly working up through the middle back into the upper back. And then as you exhale, the breath flips over into the front body, starting from the upper chest and then moving down into the lower chest, down into the belly. So you're reversing the direction. So visualize the inhalation moving up through the back body, down through the front body. Keep your concentration, your awareness on visualizing the movement of that breath. And then finish off your last cycle. And then from here, opening your eyes, bending the knees, drawing your heels in, and then rolling over to your right side, making your way up to sitting, and releasing the belt from your feet. Now taking your blanket and then sitting on your blanket with your legs stretched out straight. Going to come down into Paschimottanasana, forward fold. But using the support of the bolster, you may need blocks for a little bit more height. So from here, move the skin away from your sitting bones and sit towards the front side of the mat so you get a bit of a forward tilt through the hips. Taking the bolster across the legs, raise the arms up, take a deep inhale, exhale, fold. Just, if you can't reach the feet, it doesn't really matter. If you can reach them, you can hold the outer edges of the feet, but definitely rest the elbows on the bolster. You can rest the hands against the bolster if reaching the feet isn't an option. And then from here, lowering the forehead down to rest. If you need a bit more height, you can take your blocks, make a little bit of a tower with the blocks to rest the forehead. Tuck the chin in. Connecting with your breath. Let the eyes close. Take the gaze in towards the back of the head. Allow the backs of the legs to relax. Keep the facial muscles passive. slowly making your way back up. For Shavasana, we're going to use a little setup with our blocks and our bolster. So the blocks will be turned at the medium height and you're creating like a bridge, and then the bolster sits across the blocks like so. You'll have the blanket under your head and then you'll lie down so the calf muscles are resting on the bolster and the bolster's in towards the backs of the knees there. You'll have your blanket under your head, drawing it down towards the shoulder tips to support the back of the neck. Arms come out wide, palms facing up. Close the eyes. Allow the whole body to start to settle, letting go of all effort. Now begin to connecting with your breath again. And just working here with normal inhalations, but start to lengthen the exhalation. So the exhalation travels from the top chest into the bottom chest, down through the belly, into the hips, down the legs, all the way down into the feet. Notice at the end of that exhalation there's a pause before you inhale. It's just a little moment of suspension. Start to lengthen that pause for 2 to 3 seconds. Before the inhalation. So long, deep exhalation. Pause, 2 to 3 seconds, and then inhale. And just notice that during that pause, there's complete stillness and silence in physical body, breath body, and mind body. And then start to wriggle your toes and your fingers. Drawing your knees in. Roll over onto your right side. And then come up to sitting, finding a comfortable seated position. Bringing your hands together at your heart center. Take a deep inhale and one more long deep exhale. And then opening your eyes. Namaste.